up to move around. Maria, I definitely expect a little bit more moves from you. That's for sure. For all of my leadership teams, this is your chance to get up and move around in your room a little bit. So we got to mix up all of this working from home stuff. How we feeling? Thumbs up if you're feeling good. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Michael is high on life. Kathy, I do my best because the other option sucks. So I'll take high on life all day long. I'm super excited. I've got a gentleman here that's built an amazing real estate career. He came in as a team leader of a top market center in the country. He built a mega agent expansion team. He went into MAPS coaching, and now he is the director or president of MAPS Coaching for Leadership. Matt, what's the actual title of it, Mr. Teter?
Director of Leadership Coaches. Yeah.
I'm going to call you president of Leadership Coaching because that's how I roll here in New Jersey.
Okay, got it. Yeah. I'm not going to argue, and yet let's just keep it on this call. That'll be fine.
What happens in Jersey stays in Jersey. You know that. You're a Jersey guy.
That's right. That's right.
So Matt, I got you join me today. We talked about a couple of topics earlier today, but really where I want to start today is, James Shaw has kind of mentioned that the first 2 weeks we were operating on adrenaline, and this week we've kind of set into our new norm. And I know I've seen a lot on Facebook this week how this is the hardest week yet. Boy, am I struggling this week. My energy's off. Is it the full moon?
Yep.
What's going on energy-wise with our people, and what do we do about it?
Yeah, so a couple things to think about, and I appreciate that question. I think it's a good point to look at. One thing to understand, and you may want to write this down, is that anytime we get new information in our lives as human beings, this is a psychological thing. It's a human thing. It's not a United States thing. It's not a real estate thing. It's a human being thing. Anytime we get new information, we go through 4 stages with that information. So the first thing that happens is we push back, right? We naturally push back on what's new, what's changing, what's different. And anytime there's a market shift or a change in the way that things are happening, we push back. The second thing we do is we search for evidence. And we actually search for evidence that the person that gave us the information is wrong. We don't search for evidence that it's correct. We don't search for evidence that, those things are accurate. We search that it's incorrect, right? That it's wrong, because we want ourselves to be right, right?
We don't want it to be right. We're hoping it's not, and we'd rather validate why it's not. And plus, we all like to know someone else is wrong.
That's exactly right. And so in the third step, right, what happens is somewhere in that research, we embrace the change for other people. We just don't embrace it yet for ourselves.
Right.
So we say, this is true for Italy. It's true for China. It's true for Spain. It's true for other places around the world. It's not yet real or true for us. And finally, the fourth step is we embrace it for ourselves. And what's important about that is that, when you think about, okay, well, this week is funky, this week is different, right? This week is, or whatever you want to put around that, the first thing to understand is that every person that you communicate with in your database, in your market center, in your pipeline, is at a different stage of acceptance.
Right.
And so you're in a company where you're ahead of the game. You have these calls, you have this communication, you have shift pivot, you've got bold pivot, you have all these other opportunities to work on your mindset, to get out in front, to have plans and strategies. And your database, your clients, other real estate brokers, the people that you're doing business with have not gone through everything yet. And that's why it also feels longer for you than it does for a lot of other people, because you're already thinking through as to what happens next, where do we go from here? And a lot of people you're communicating with are kind of stuck where they are, right? So that's one important thing to think about of why it's funky. The second thing, Michael, what it reminds me of is I've run 4 marathons. I'm training for the Chicago Marathon this year. And, and that's in October. So I hope we'll be able to still run it. And, what's interesting about it is when you run a marathon, there's this funny thing that kind of happens. When your first one, no matter how much you train, you leave the gate too fast, right? Because you have so much adrenaline built up, right? And especially big marathons. I've run Philadelphia, I've run New Jersey Marathon, right? These are big marathons. So I haven't run New York yet. I'm working on that. And yet when you run, there's a big marathons and all these people, all this energy, all this pent up, excitement about what it is. And what ends up happening is, right, you go out too fast.
Right.
right? And I didn't wear
It's
this
kind of,
watch.
it's kind of like a horse coming out of the gate in a horse race, right? They're moving, and then that opens it up, and bam.
That's exactly right. And so everybody gets out, right? I didn't have this watch to begin with, which is my dumb watch, not a smart watch. It's just my pacing time, right? And for running, it does those things. And the reason why I like this analogy, and it's so true, is because what happens if you come out in a marathon the first 2 or 3 miles too fast, it doesn't catch up with you until mile 18, 19, 20, or 21.
Right.
And that's where people bonk out or hit a wall or have issues, right? And so the mindset, challenge that we can have in situations like this is, we can think that we can control the amount of time that it's going to occur, right? And we also think that we can say, well, it's been like this for other people, it'll be like this for us. And the truth of the matter is that we can't go out too fast. We have to understand that it's a marathon, and in a marathon, you do primary things. You check your pace, you check your nutrition, you check your hydration, and you can consistently do that to make sure they're in a good place to move forward. Well, right now, Michael, I would check my mentality, my mindset.
Okay.
Right. I would check on my people, my family, their health and their safety. Right. And I would check on, right, in my business side, I check on my pipeline, right, in my business. And I would constantly look at it, okay, right, is my mindset in a powerful place, in the right place for me to move forward? Are the people in my family healthy and safe moving forward? And I am as well. Okay, great. And what's the health of my business?
Right.
Right.
So can we take a few minutes in each of those categories, if you don't
Yeah.
mind? I definitely want to spend a minute in mindset. I know
Yeah.
you're a huge mindset guy. You
Yeah.
do a great job of managing yours.
Michael, I lost you there for a second, your audio.
You got me back now? We good?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny. I use this mic, and what I'm finding is my batteries are literally dying every day and a half.
Oh my gosh.
It
Okay.
used to last me 2 or 3 weeks. Now they're dying every day and a half. So what I was saying was, what are some tricks that people on this call can use to help their mindsets, keep themselves focused, positive? I know sometimes letting go of the little things and focusing on some of the more important things. Any tricks you have for mindset?
Yeah, so we know in Bold that we've learned that clarity is power, right? And one of the things that happens when we get into a new situation as well is that we get into fear, we get into chaos, we get into uncertainty, and that's a lack of power. Now, and I'll just openly say this: I've had my entire life anxiety, right? And so as an individual that has a high level of anxiety, right, and I just so have the privilege that my wife does, right, my parents do, right, so it's a great experience in our family to have that, right, conversation. Yet when you have high anxiety, right, and you get into a place where you lack power, right, your thoughts start to spin and you get in a really poor spot. So what I realize is, maybe not so much a trick, it's just a simple thing. When I'm in that place, it's because I'm foggy or unclear. Right? I'm lacking direction. And so my mind's starting to spin. And if we think about it, last year, many of us created a GPS, right? What we did is we set out in the beginning of the year, and every week we did our 4-on-1. We had our personal goals, right? We had our professional goals. And then we had that fed into a GPS, and we set those goals based on the concept that even at family reunion this year, right? Gary on stage said the market could shift at any time. And right, what we're looking at is probably a pretty break even or a little bit better year. So many of us set our goals based on all of that in those conversations and move forward to that. Well, everything changes.
How many people threw out their GPS in the last 2 weeks? I'll see some of those memes where people said, "Who wants to buy a 2020 planner because mine is useless?"
Yeah, exactly.
All those types of concepts.
I think the simplest thing that you can do is get back to goal setting. Right? Embrace, the first tactic of shift is get real, get right. Right? So if we can embrace the reality of where we are, right, we can then move forward from there. And when we create clarity for ourselves, it empowers ourselves to move forward with a positive mindset. So, what is my goal setting, right, look like? What is my pivot GPS or my second quarter GPS? If I can't think out the entire year, that's okay. Let's go out 90 days till the end of June and look at what can I control? What am I focused on? What are the big rocks in my business I'm aimed towards? And then realign the professional aspect of our 4-on-1 or side of our 4-on-1 to making sure that the increased activity allows us to hit our goals. So one simple thing I think, Michael, with that is that we get clarity again with our goals. A second thing that I would say about mindset or how to look at it is all of us have our own version of a reset button. right? So is it, for me, when I was a team leader, it was motivational, inspirational speakers, and I would honestly blare videos, right? I mean, at the highest level of sound, and people would come in at 7 o'clock in the morning and wonder what was going on.
What are you doing here, Teter, right?
And for me, it was a setting of my mindset, setting of an intention, right? Putting myself in a place where I had a great mood stepping into things. For some people, it's meditation. For other people, it's yoga. Other people, it's working out. Some people, it's spending time with their family, right? Some people, it's comedy, right? And actually, for me, that's really great. Laughter is a great medicine for all of us. Connecting with other people. I used to call my wife in between calls just as a reset, or my parents, right, when I was lead generating, to get an easy call in, talk to somebody, get back on an even keel, the people that can help me and keep moving forward. So
John Maxwell talks to them like battery rechargers. What's the song? What's the book? What's the music? What's the show? What are those things you do to refill your batteries, recharge your batteries?
Yep.
So make sure we're doing that purposefully in our day, right?
That's it. That's the whole point is, right? Somebody's saying morning affirmations, right? That's exactly right. I mean, the whole point is, what is it for you that gets you back in a great place? And the last piece that I'd say is, don't forget about gratitude, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's listening to audiobooks or doing all these things, one of the simplest things for us to get to is gratitude. Last night I called my wife's sister, Veronica, who lives in Brooklyn, and we called her at 7 o'clock, and we didn't realize the importance of 7 o'clock in New York City. Right. And that's the time that everybody goes outside and celebrates and cheers and yells for healthcare professionals. Wow.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That's awesome.
We could hear it on speaker in the background. So really, and I know you've got friends in New York, you're in North Jersey, pick up the phone today and call somebody in New York and ask them to take a walk at 7 o'clock. Right. That'll be a good reset button for wherever you are mindset wise.
That's awesome. Yeah, I kind of hit a wall myself this week, and this has been the week where I've gotten a few of those texts and emails and messages. So it's so nice when you see one of those things come in, just kind of pick you back up a little bit. And I think, we talked a little bit about, the last 2 weeks we've talked about coming from caring with our databases and calling them. We're not going to beat up on that again here, but I think if you do some of those same types of touches with your database, as well as your family members, your coworkers, everyone's going to feel that and need that pick me up, right?
Yeah, a couple of things I'll say on that, and I know you guys have spent a lot of time is, and I think it's important. We spend all this time as an organization talking about reducing our own expenses, right? We spend all this time as an organization talking about this book. This is Shift. I'm just turned to 42 and 43, 7 Steps to a Talent Shift. We've been talking about, right, Millionaire Real Estate Investor book, right? And how markets change and shift to an investor or buyer-based market, especially being near and around the New York metropolitan area. What a lot of people do is they invest in the stock market naturally. They know people that trade, right? And what happens is things change in your area, things change in that market, and they look for alternative investments. This book becomes really big at that time too. And we're talking about that. We're in that conversation. We're talking about mindset right now, right? And whether it's MREI, whether it's the Shift book, whether it's reducing your expenses, just remember, the vast majority of your database doesn't have access to the conversations that you do.
Right.
So if you're looking for ways to nurture your database as a value add that have to do with connecting them to moving forward, maybe people in your database have been laid off, right? Maybe people in your database are entrepreneurs and they're restaurant owners and their restaurant's closed, right? Whatever that is, you can take the training that you've gotten within our organization and pass that on as an agent, right, to the database, right, that you have. You could talk to them about $1,000 challenge. How do you eliminate $1,000 from your personal expenses every single month, right? You could talk about, right, and teach the MREI. You could teach Shift, right? And so many people would benefit from that in your database, from the information and knowledge. And again, it's an important time to reflect and understand that in our company, we're unique in real estate and we're also unique in business for the education that we get. And therefore you can take that knowledge, and we know that the best learning that we do is when we teach, and you can reteach it to your database to scale and grow what you know and to provide value to those people as well.
Yeah, because when we talk to some of the people in our database, they don't have calls like this. They don't have Shift Pivot. And those tactics that we learned, I'll never forget, years ago, I had a buddy who graduated and got this plumber's license, and we talked about 8x8 and a 33 touch. Whether you're in plumbing, whether you're in electrical, whether you're in mortgage, if you're in any type of business, all these tactics we talk about work universally. So how would you look in your sphere if you're providing that kind of support for everyone that's in that, regardless of the industry?
That's the point, Michael, that Gary made to us on the RD call. I'm privileged to. I'm on my. I have video off. I'm on mute. I'm kind of in the background on that call, listening, taking notes. And yet, he made a great point on that call where he said, how many other people in your world have called you?
Yeah,
right?
He hasn't heard from his auto dealer, his dentist, his doctor, from nobody, right?
Yeah. So we're uniquely positioned as an industry that we actually talk about nurturing. We talk about touching people. We talk about reaching out and saying hello. Some of the questions to ask yourself, especially, okay, so leaders on the call, a great question to ask, right? People that are not yet with us, or agents as well, to be able to grow your business would be, how is your organization providing value directly to the consumer?
Mm. Providing value directly to the consumer.
And so, or it really flat out, how is your organization saving the consumer money, right, in this challenging time? Two simple things that we know, right? And I'm personally in a transaction right now where I'm using Keller Mortgage and utilized, and I know you talked about it too, Michael, with Keller Covered. You have a simple conversation with Keller Covered, right, where somebody can get on that page, right, and be able to see and shop and reduce their homeowner's insurance expense. And that's in a marketplace that we offer as a company. And then, obviously in Keller Mortgage, they have a zero, no lender fee mortgage and $1,000 back at closing. So in my transaction right now, it's going to save us $7,000, right? In that one real estate transaction. So how are we saving money for the consumer? What are we doing directly to the consumer? And on the other side, what is your
just to make sure I'm clear, because we do have some mortgage partners on this line.
Yeah.
It's a very different product. It's very self-driven, so it's not quite the same as the typical interaction you have with a mortgage professional. So I just make a point to share that. And I want to follow up with somebody saying Keller Covered as well. I quoted my own home on Keller Covered. It was $1,400 less.
Sure.
$1,400 less than what I'm currently paying. So, those are both tools that we need to be looking at and sharing to make sure that someone else saved 50% with Keller Covered. So, a lot of opportunity to save the consumer money with some of the tools Gary's created.
Yeah, and the second question is how is your organization, how is your brokerage saving money, right, for a real estate professional, right, and adding value directly to the real estate professional? And that conversation, very simply, we talk about tech assessment. We talk about, right, what's happening in command, right? Very soon, what we're going to see come out from Keller Williams Realty International is that for anybody that is new and has not yet run, a Facebook ad, has not yet run a Facebook ad in command, if they spend $75, Keller Williams Realty International is going to invest an additional $25. Right. We're about to see that come out right on top of this. So there's so many incredible things where the company is actually making investments, like we happen in MAPS coaching, right, for April and May, for people that are new and current clients. Same thing that's happening, through command. So when we think about that, the uniqueness of the company, those disruptive value propositions are, how is the organization offering value directly to the consumer and directly to the agent, saving money for the consumer, saving money for the agent? That's a powerful conversation to be able to have.
Without a doubt. So you've got this ability to bring tools, ideas, in a way, teaching as well as money saving opportunities to the database. So once we get to that point where we have that initial caring call, then you can get into sharing with them some positive news, some humor. And then get into, here's other ways I can help you. Imagine a Zoom call with your database on ways you can save money in your personal expenses. No one else is calling them with these ideas.
No, absolutely not. And I think one of the things to ask your database, the question that I've been asking agents on these calls over the past couple of weeks is, what is the biggest problem in your business that we can solve today? Right. And I think a question that you would ask your database is, what is the biggest problem that we can solve, right, in your life, or in what's happening to you today, right? Or what's happening, in your world today? Is there something that we can solve for you? Is there something we can do for you? Very often it might be that somebody wants to, find a face mask and they're not able to find a company, right, that's able to do it. Or it could be that they want gloves, or, I know there's a race around the world for, paper goods, right? Maybe you have the inside knowledge on how to get those right to your home, or get those for somebody. The simple things that you can do, the question we need to ask ourselves is, how do we want to be remembered on the other side of this? Right. what legacy are we leaving based on what we're doing right now as leaders and agents?
Someone that provided support, help, a shoulder, a phone call, a text.
Absolutely.
People are going to remember those touches during this time like they never have in history before.
Yep.
So for those people on the call who say, oh, I don't feel comfortable touching my database, it's a lot easier to touch them now and care than it is to ignore that and then try calling them 3 months from now. And where the person would think, oh, where the hell you been? we can't just wait till this is all over and then come out.
Yeah.
We need to come out now and make sure we're communicating and supporting now.
Yeah, and the business professionals in your database, what's funny about that too is there's so many people in our database that, right, are like you, Michael, or like me, or like many of the people on this call, where they are numbers people.
Yep.
Right. And they do watch markets, and they are multiple market investors, and they're human, and yet they are interested in what's going on in business. And, another thing that we're seeing people do that's helping them make better decisions, right, as agents, as leaders, right, and is providing more value to their database, is to study the market every day.
Mm.
So what they're studying, right, is they're pulling everyday data on new listings, on pendings, on closed units. Every day they're studying price increases, price reductions, withdrawn, cancellations, and expires. And on a daily basis, they're seeing the trends or what's happening in the market so that they can get out in front of what's occurring, right? And they're able to communicate that value both to their database and that pipeline of people that are either respectfully pent up, basically ready and unable to buy or sell a home if that's the situation they're in, right? Or those people that are thinking about and considering it. Right. So when you have that information, when you're able to provide it, the other thing as a leader, when you're able to provide that is you become the economist of choice as a leader, and you can help agents to be able to interpret, right, what's happening in the market and how to move forward. And therefore, that's much more attractive for somebody that may be in uncertainty or fear in their current organization without that leadership to go towards you, where you're saying, hey, here's what's happening in the market. Maybe it's like a reverse bell curve. We're tracking every trend. Here's the opportunities we're seeing. Here's what our people are doing. This is how we can move forward.
As you talk about studying the market and making sure you understand that, we had a great call earlier today. I think it was 10 o'clock. We recorded it. We can get it out to everybody. We just made a deal with Broker Metrics where they're providing agent metrics for all of our people for free. So we just plugged into that today. We had a call about 55 people where he showed you how you can look on a week by week movement of actives, under contracts, withdrawals. I don't know if he posted that or Emily. If we do have a link for that publicly, put it in the search box. It's a great way for you to kind of go in there and see what's going on with the numbers. So, be that local economist of choice and have the tools to make yourself more valuable than anybody else out there. Because if you could post some of those things on your Facebook and share that with your sphere, they're going to say, wow, this person knows real estate like nobody else I've ever spoken to. And that's going to make you invaluable.
Yeah, there's 4 things that we can do, Michael, that no matter what happens, right? If the governor of New Jersey came out and said, you cannot do anything in real estate, right? Like absolutely can't. There's no business. It's not even a thought process or a creativity. It just can't happen.
Yep.
We could still do 4 things, right? Number 1, you could nurture your database. Number 2, you could build your pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, you could refer business. What we forget is business is happening in other markets, even if it's not happening in ours. So how are you connecting and referring your business? By the way, what are you learning? Where we said this on a call earlier, it's almost like you're coming from the future. So you could be the person who's featured, any of you, leaders or agents, on a call around the country where you're saying, hey, in New Jersey, northern New Jersey, we've had these challenges. We've been sheltering in place. Here's the type of controls that we're experiencing. This is how we went through it. Here's what happened. This is how we taught clients how remote business operates. And you could be the featured speaker to be able to build your referral network inside our organization at this time too, right? So it's not just referring business, it's building your referral business. And then finally, you could recruit. You could recruit for your sales team, right? And grow your team, because again, the unfortunate nature of what's happening when people are laid off is that just like the sickness, that is a challenging and terrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
However, a lot of what comes out of that is, speaking as somebody who graduated college during the last shift, right, and graduated undergrad into just an incredible job market, right? There are a lot of people, right? There are a lot of people that are looking for opportunity. You're surrounded by universities. Unfortunately, there are going to be some people in your area laid off that are going to be extremely talented people looking for what's next, what's different. Or it may have been that they always wanted to be in real estate. They always wanted to grow their business that way. And just they had a fear, they were held back, or they thought they had safety in their job, right? And what happened is they thought, you know what, I actually, this is the time I'm going to go pursue this. This is the time I'm going to go step into this. This is the time I'm going to go and build my own business and what I've always wanted to go after. So you can build your profit share tree, you can build your team that way. And there's more talented people that are looking for hungry, motivated, high driving, powerful, resourceful, and training-based, learning-based organizations right now than there ever have been before, because they want that opportunity to move forward. And I think what that does is it gives you the opportunity to be able to communicate with more people. So even if you stopped, you could do so many powerful things, right, to be able to build your business and embrace your business for what's next, that, again, that conversation isn't anywhere else. And we don't have the tools or skill set necessarily in other locations to be able to execute on that.
I've got 2 follow-up points on your recruiting and 1 on your pipeline.
Yeah.
On the recruiting thing, number 1, we've got about 15 to 20 guests on this 2 o'clock call every day. They're plugging into this because their companies are offering nothing like this. They haven't even heard from the brokers a lot of instances. Number 2, I see Katrina asked, you'll have about the next day or 2, you will have information on the Metropolitan Real Estate Academy's first online class in New Jersey. We're pricing it out at $150 less than the average of what we're seeing out there. So that'll be a great touch to your database, to your spouses, to your friends. They're sitting at home anyway. They might as well get their real estate license while they're there. And again, everywhere we're seeing is offering it out in the mid-4s. I believe we're coming in around $275 to $299. So we're offering out less than everybody else. And a comment on your pipeline, there's going to be 3 things that will definitely come out of this quarantine time. Number 1, there's going to be people that are absolutely sick and tired of their houses that are going to want to make a change when this is over.
Yep.
Number 2, there's probably going to be an increase in babies, which means people are going to need a bigger house.
Yep.
And number 3, we'll probably see a spike in divorces because people are going to be so sick of dealing with their spouses. So either one of those 3 things, and either one of those 3 things, we're going to see an uptick of people wanting and needing to buy and sell houses. Thank you, Ian. He's going to be sending out a link through Eventbrite for $299 for that class. So all those things drive our sales. All of those things are part of our pipeline. And whether or not they think of you is based on whether or not you're communicating with those people right now with those value tools.
Yeah. The last thing I was going to say is that, especially in northern New Jersey, right, and the entire tri-state, right, so into Connecticut, everywhere, right. I lived in Philadelphia for 10 years. I was a team leader in New Jersey. I have a family. My wife's sister lives in Brooklyn, so I'm very familiar with that market, right, and spent a lot of time in it. And, what we all know about that market is traffic is really easy to get through, and it's very easy to navigate, and you never really stop on 95, and it's just very easy to drive. And what we actually know is that it's awful, right?
Wait a second.
Very, very often. And so are tunnels and bridges, right? Yeah. And so what you start to realize, and many of you already had this aha in this great reaction and response is, wait a second, I spent a lot of time in my car, right? I've converted a business right now to buyer agreements on Zoom. I've converted a business to listing appointments on Zoom. And respectfully, it might be a consideration. Am I going to go back to anything else? Am I going to go back to getting in my car for that period of time, right, at the same level that I did before, right, to have put all that travel time back in my day, back in my life, or I'm going to put that time back in with my family?
And with that, I think you can see companies have now figured out a way to keep their employees productive from home.
Yep.
So they're going to offer out that home work environment, which could be another reason. I see Katrina mentioned it, that James mentioned it. People may need different houses with a home work environment. So what we're going through right now is actually changing the way both we operate and the way the American, business person operates. So we're going to see a lot of changes coming out of this.
Yeah. Going full circle, Michael, we have to allow ourselves the grace to be a human being. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is that we're going to be challenged. We're going to have challenging days. It's going to be hard sometimes, right? We have to allow ourselves the grace to be a human being. If it's tough, it's going to be tough, right? If you're challenged, it's going to be challenged, right? The good news about North Jersey, right? The good news about people in your market in general is that they're pretty darn tough. they've gotten through a lot of really challenging things. Sandy was challenging, right? We've been in things before in that market where we've been incredibly challenged, right? And you've come through with resilience. You've stood up to it at an incredible level, and there's nothing different about this, right? It'll be the exact same response from a group of very powerful people in one of the most powerful cities and markets in the entire world. So we know that we'll be able to get through that on the back end. We just have to stay connected with people and redevelop our schedule, right? Make sure that we have our mindset and our reset buttons that we're pressing consistently time and time again, and that we're connecting with people in a way where even if we pause or stop for a moment, we can build our business to the future. And the other thing is, maybe we didn't do all the things that we necessarily were supposed to do in command, right? Like all the really good stuff that I didn't get around to yet. Well, now's a great time. Maybe we didn't really get around to figuring out all the stuff that's on that shift pivot page. Well, it might be a good time to look at how that could play out in your business and how that could move your business forward. Maybe the training and the reading where, people talk about the shift book, and maybe you're on this call going, if I'm really honest, I haven't listened to the audio or read the whole book yet, right? Or the MREI. Well, maybe it's time to do that. So when before we thought to ourselves, if I just had more time, right, I could have fill in the blank. Yep. Well, if you look at your business, the people that have that time exactly and use it right now are going to be the winners. Yeah. Right. Moving forward.
Awesome. So as we wrap up, last statement or two things. A, I want you to throw in the chat box an aha you got out of today, or an action step you're going to take from this conversation. And then as we wrap up, I'm going to play the Corona video from yesterday for those that missed it. I think it's important to laugh every day, so we're going to play that video one more time. So here's the couple takeaways I got from this conversation, Matt. Number one, revise your goals, revise your GPS. That old one is gone, toss that out, make a new one, and perhaps only make it a 30, 60, or 90-day GPS. Yep. Take in short snippets as we navigate out of this. The other thing I really got out of this was, without doubt, nurturing the database. I love that. Make sure you watch your daily routine. What are you doing? Where are you getting yourself energy? Where are you getting yourself, fixing your mindset? What are you watching? What are you listening to? Making sure you're really filling yourself out. Because James mentioned it, and you mentioned the analogy, both of you. This is a marathon we're in. The only challenge is we don't know whether it's a 5K, a 10K, a 26. We don't know how long it is or how long it will take us. So you've got to pace yourself and making sure you're taking care of yourself along the way. Any final thoughts you want to share before we play the video?
No, I think that's great. I just appreciate the opportunity to be around you guys again. And if there's anything that I can do, please reach out. I'm more than happy to help.
Well, we appreciate you being here. As we close out, guys, I've got Emily has a video queued up. Mo Anderson turned us on to this Corona video yesterday, Matt. So feel free to take a look at it.
Awesome.
And guys, have a great one. Hit it, Emily.
Corona, every county sweeping with the strain. Oh, Corona, and the first 12 weeks, they sure look bleak. And the next 12 weeks could be the same. Oh, Corona, every night my honey lemon die. Every night we sit 3 feet apart and binge bowl dark and admire our toilet roll supply. It's making its way across the land, yo ho, so make sure that you're washing your hands. Wash your hands, 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 wash your hands. And when we say, hey, we're only saying you're not benign. Oh, Corona, oh, Corona. That's COVID-19, oh, Corona.
All right, guys, we had to laugh one more time. Emily's going to post the link in the chat box for Ben Kinney. A reminder, we have Ben Kinney tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Before you get on that, he wants you to listen to his podcast and rate it. So look in the chat box for a copy of his podcast link. That's 2 o'clock tomorrow. And I've challenged Emily to find a bunch of funny videos. So as we go into the next week, we're going to be sharing lots and lots of funny videos like that. Happy Passover to those celebrating. I believe that starts tonight. I hope I'm not disrespectful there. And to those celebrating Easter, enjoy that as well. Thank you, Matt, for being here. Thank you for everyone for attending. You rock. Thank you, Franco. It started yesterday. I apologize. Thank you all for being here. We're in this together. We'll get through it together because we have each other. Like I'm dead out there. We'll see you tomorrow.